As he breaks the panetta, Adam's getting fed up. He's shouting, "God damn it, Declawed!" But his puns all get better, the women get wetter, and all he can do is applaud King Declawed. Gonna proc it now, gonna proc it now by Jackson Aurelia. Jackson Aurelia. Gonna proc it now, gonna proc it now. Proc it, Jackson Aurelia. T-Force. Welcome to the rework of the T-Force. Now we going hard cause we bumping at the beat source. It's a 3-course dinner of dudes bringing the news and stats, interviews and casts from the pro scene. So fresh and so clean, like you're leaning with Nami in the bot lane. Keep it hot like Brand, practicing his dot game. Give it to you easy like you're Resi in a bot game. Imagine Draven at prime time. Now ulti like LeBlanc can copy that 4 times, but manlier. Knock it up like now fight planning a family-er. You gotta be tuned in like Sona on the ad wall. Get on the chat call. Can a podcast really be all that? Of course. How do 4 guys make a Triforce?
Hey guys, welcome to the Trinity Force Podcast. You're listening to episode number 183. My name is Adam Ponophobia Cogswell, and I am your host for this lovely evening. It is a amazing Monday evening, meaning a brand new week to the podcast.
Yay.
Yay.
We've got
two new episodes coming.
Nice recovery there.
What? That wasn't recovery. I was going that way the entire time.
Uh-huh.
I'm sure.
I was talking about how awesome this week is and how excited I am.
Yeah. It is a Monday, and
No, you're exaggerating.
it's amazing.
Listen, I have to send a SMS. So why doesn't someone talk about the LCS rundown and what they did yesterday and the Azawell podcast? Does anyone know what they did yesterday too?
They lost at Fantasy.
They went live for the first time. Azawell podcast went live on Twitch.
Oh, really?
That's awesome.
What
On
time?
this
How did
channel.
I not know that?
It's always like 6 a.m. or some shit Eastern.
Why didn't
I
you tell
didn't
me? I
know
would have
that.
woken up at 6 a.m. to watch.
I think it was before that. It was probably like 5 a.m. or something because I got a message on my phone when I woke up. I was like, oh, they're live. I didn't
nice.
even know.
How'd it go?
Congrats, guys.
Yeah, they're already on YouTube. You can go check it out. They're up a day early.
Those
Day or
fancy
two early.
devils.
Nice.
Not to mention the LCS Rundown crew, which of course you can find all of this at TrinityForcePodcast.com. They did a 2-hour episode of the LCS Rundown, and feedback is in. People are loving it.
Good.
It was a good one.
They've all been saying that the guys have finally hit their stride. They understand how to talk about the LCS. They are coming together as a team. And just as we expected, 20 episodes in, that's about how long it takes for a good podcast to really get going. So if you guys didn't stick with it, get back on the horse.
Yeah, I listened to the EU portion of it, the first parter, during my lunch break today at work, and it was good. I enjoyed it. I enjoyed the banter back and forth, and it's good. You'll agree and you'll disagree with some stuff, and
I mean,
I learned that Sifa is all about the. He's really good at crunching the numbers and the analytics and looking at the percentages. Like, I'd want to take him with me to a casino to play some blackjack or something. But
It's funny because it seems like
So
he
it's good
got brought
stuff.
on to just because they kept having such a hard time getting that 4th person to show up, and that Mitch was out of town, and then Tom always has commitments going on, so it just like they were always having difficulty getting the full group there, and then all of a sudden they're all showing up every single week, so the 5-man show is just killing it.
it is.
That's all right with me. We're going to have a 5-man show. We keep teasing days. I believe
Five-person
she's like
show.
2 weeks out.
Oh, well.
5-person show.
I think she's 2 weeks out, if I remember
man.
correctly. I know we've been talking about it for a while, but we're really excited to bring a 5th person on this podcast. We're going to try to get Area Defect back on this podcast because King Declawed, as you heard at the beginning of the show, or end, I don't know where it's going to go. They're going to come back on and talk, probably listener questions with us. A bunch of, you guys will like having them on, so we'll bring them back. We'll do listener questions. We'll have a good night. Maybe you'll have a full King Declawed by that point.
And they clicked with us really well anyway, so.
Yeah,
Yeah.
That's great.
Kyle did a good job, and
Yep.
he just
It's
fits
fun.
right in.
fun person.
Twitter a few minutes before we go live. I did tweet a few minutes before we go live. Thank you very much. If you guys aren't watching us live every Monday and Wednesday at 8 p.m. Eastern Daylight Time, you know what? And when we end the show, I will play King Declawed for all of those live. Stick around for the next hour. You'll get King Declawed. If you listen to this on the podcast, hopefully you heard it in the beginning, and I'll make sure that our producer puts it up there. So, Lancifer, if you're listening now, There you go. All right, guys, we have to roll into, before we start talking about League of Legends, we're going to talk about patch 4.13 Fallout with air quotes. We're going to talk about Sona, a little bit of Maokai, maybe some of the, kind of like the LCS stuff that happened this weekend, then we'll get into listener questions after that. But before we do, I have to talk about a product that we're getting sponsored by. I need to back up so you're going to hear me.
You do have to talk about it.
I sure do. So
we can't talk about it. The rest of us can't.
Live at home, go to youtube.com/T-Force Podcast. You'll see this awesome backpack that I have. It's called the Pocket Aces Backpack, right? And it's limited time. If you go to bit.ly/T-Force bag and use code BACK, the number 2, school, you can get this bag for $119. Now you're going to ask yourself, why do I want this backpack? Well, one, you get to represent America with the American water bottle. America!
Oh, yeah.
Number 2, it's got a pocket for everything. When you order this backpack, you also get the portable recharger for your cell phone.
Those things are handy. Those things are very handy.
As I make lots of noises, I drop shit everywhere. Over on my left-hand side, the backpack also has a handy-dandy surge protector. Well, it's not really a surge protector. It's a power strip that you can actually plug into the wall from the side of the backpack. And then inside there, boom. It's got a cell phone charger, it's got your surge protector, it's got everything you can need in one handy location. So if you go to school or conventions or you're traveling all the time and you realize that there's only one plug in most places you go to, this is going to allow you to charge all of your devices at one place. All you need is
all your shit.
You have a portable command center for your stuff.
Exactly. So guys, that's the Pocket Aces backpack. You can go find that at bit.ly/T-Force bag using code BACK, number 2, school. Get it for $119. And we've already had, I think they said 5 people that have purchased this backpack, and everybody has told us they love it. Like, they've already received it, they have it in their hands, and you know what? You can't go wrong when you get a cell phone charger in a bag, right?
I like the umbrella pocket.
Oh, yeah, and there's an umbrella that
keeps all your stuff from getting wet. Yep.
But that is that for the Pocket Aces backpack. Guys, go check that out. Link is down below, as always. Other than that, the bag of granola. Sorry, guys. I mean, right, yeah, look, listen. It's got so many pockets that I forgot what's in there. There's a bag of granola inside.
Snacks. Carry everything.
I do like that you're just throwing it around and everything.
Yeah. And look how durable it is!
Get out of here.
If that's not a testament to this backpack with how I treat it.
Much like everything else in your life, you treat it poorly.
I just throw it around and it only lasts for about 4 months. Just everything in my life.
I'm sure it lasts longer than 4 months.
All right.
Wow.
All right, let's talk League of Legends and patch 4.13. So, as you all know, Sona came out. Excuse me, let's start this again. Patch 4.13, Sona came out, the new Sona. And we got Diamond to play her yesterday. I got to play with her. We may have seen her played in games. I'm going to lay this on the floor, or I'll take it. General thoughts on the new Sona. Who has played her, who has not?
I played her. I played her. There's kind of a lot you can say about Sona. So she used to be this champion who was like a bundle of stats, and that was like all you got with her the later the game went on, because everything else she did was pretty much meaningless. Her heal really didn't do much. Occasionally you'd top somebody off, or you'd save somebody from death, but even then it was probably the resistances that got the job done. And she gave a lot of ability power and attack damage, which was surprisingly useful for pushing down objectives, but was very difficult to feel if you were the recipient of the auras. And so the goal behind changing Sona was to make her more engaging, both for the teammates of Sona and the Sona player. And they did accomplish that. I mean, there could be improvements, but they did accomplish that, because having played her, playing her yesterday, I did feel like I was having more of an impact. The heal gets really good as the game goes on, because it scales with the person. Like, the heal improves based on the target's missing HP. And that really does become very meaningful as the lane goes on. She becomes really good at kind of just enduring through sieges and that type of thing, because she can keep propping people back up as they take a little bit of damage, minion damage, poke damage, whatever. And likewise, her Q, while the damage itself is pretty, it's the same as it's always been, or no, it's actually worse. The aura side of it did get better for the later stages of the game, because you can usually hit 2 or 3 of your teammates with it, and that's a lot of extra bonus damage. It ends up being something like a Sheen proc type damage. I don't have the numbers in front of me. The
20,
problem
20, 30, 40, 50, 60, I think. I'm
but
pretty
then
sure
you
it says
add
20.
you add another 10, 20, 30 depending on the rank of her ult.
Oh, okay, right.
Oh.
So it does get really good by the end. 110 damage by the end of the game. That's a lot of extra auto attack damage. If especially if you hit every single member of your team. That's really improbable because the snuggle zones, as Riot is calling them, are really, really small.
That's my biggest annoyance with her now.
Yeah, I mean, like you can.
I love the names of it though, the snuggle zones.
I like the term. They're really small. You have to basically be on top of your teammates in order to get these off. And for Q, it's bonus auto attack damage just for the next auto attack. For W, the heal, it gives a small shield to everybody affected by it. And then for E, it gives the movement speed bonus that you were used to giving your teammates whenever you pushed E. Now they only get it if they're inside the snuggle zone, which is a big gripe of mine. But yeah, so what's weird is because they nerfed the damage on Q a little bit, and then they added this snuggle zone element, her early laning is actually really, really bad. She used to be this weird champion where you either just totally dominated because you were able to bully really, really fast, or you lost because you had to leave lane at some point while your enemy was still there, and like you just ended up getting pushed to your tower. Now it's like even if you get ahead, you don't really feel like you're that far ahead. Adam, last night we played 2 games, one where we were just totally behind from the get-go, and the other one where we were doing pretty well during laning, but at no point did I feel like I could really I mean, once I hit level 3, it didn't feel like I was doing anything meaningful with Q anymore.
Well, here's the problem. You can't... I think with the new Sona, it's just going to be a playstyle change. One, I'll go back to the auras. My big gripe are you have to play too close to your AD carry in lane, because at this point, if they make any changes to her in her current state, you have to snuggle up against your AD carry to maximize how Q works. You're no longer pressing Q, poking with it, and auto-attacking like you were before. You need to use it in conjunction with your AD carry to get the most out of that poke in the lane.
And the problem with that is you end up giving up zone control if you do that.
Right.
Because you have to get, either your AD carry has to come to you, and so now you are forfeiting the region where the AD carry was, or you are leaving the brush, or just moving closer to the AD carry, and by extension of that, they know what's coming. Like, you're telegraphing everything you're about to do if you try to maximize that snuggle zone damage. And it's really frustrating. Like, it's frustrating during laning because it's all about zone control and getting as much harass off as you can. And if you're grouped up together like that, you're just gonna get punished. Whether it's a Caitlyn Q or an Alistar combo coming at you, you're going to get punished for grouping up like that. And Sona is frail.
Yeah, even if you're ahead and you're grouping up together, let's say in the middle of the lane to give each other the buff or to give your AD carry the buff. What happens if you're going against like a Twitch or a Corki or somebody with an AoE or some kind of line damage? Now you are both eating everything that is coming at you. You mentioned the Caitlyn Piltover Peacemaker.
Lucian running in and queuing both of you.
Exactly. You have to stack on top of each other to give it now, and that's not what you want to do at endgame either. Like when you start a team fight, Sona has to be in the front, or Sona has to be in the front or snuggled up against somebody to give them speed boost, shield, extra AD or whatever, the proc or whatever it is, and now again, it goes in the team fights. You're giving up zone control, and you are a giant target. Hit the squishy support. You're gonna get a AD carry with it. So it doesn't make sense right now because of how small the aura zones are.
It affects her laning. It absolutely affects her laning. I will go so far as to say just her laning is bad right now at this stage of the game as a support. A lot of people are expounding her merits as a mid laner. Apparently, she's really good there. I can kind of see it. She deals quite a bit of damage between power chord, the Q bonus auto attack damage, and then Q itself.
She's just a little more powerful mid. It might be that push that she needs to be a mid laner because of how much more damage you get on Q, but she's I don't know if she's significantly better. I'd have to see her played.
I mean, I can kind of see her setting up ganks really well just through power chord with E. Like, getting that slow on there is going to be a pretty big deal.
Sure.
But I still feel like no matter what you do with Sona, you're going to telegraph. Like, your enemy should know what Sona is going to do. If Sona's coming at you, and that's the only way she can deal damage, she can't be tricky about it at all. If Sona's coming at you, she's trying to pull something, and that's like...
Well, granted, she can just... A lot of other characters telegraph what they're doing.
And that's kind of
I feel
always
like it's
been
really, really obvious with Sona, though.
But
like,
that's
compared to
always been a
everybody
thing
else.
with Sona. Like back even in her previous iteration, if she was gonna run up and poke you, you saw her running up and poking you, and especially
Right,
if
but
you're
the difference is that as a support in her previous iteration, she was not trying to CS or anything, so she didn't really have to put herself in any other precarious positioning unless she was going in for the harass and using her zone control. But still,
Right.
when you're in mid lane trying to CS, if you you have to get pretty close to actually hit a Q. If you get in that close to them, they're going to just hit you with everything first.
Wait, is she better reactively? Like
Once you
somebody
have your ult.
dogpiles your AD carry,
Once you
you
have
can
your
get
ult.
to him faster. Your heal's a little bit better right off the
Not
bat.
in the early going. Not in the early going.
I mean, you get
It seems a lot more significant
significant
when you look at it.
So that's nice.
It's a meager shield. I mean, just in the early going, her laning is bad at this point.
But is she better reactively than she was before? Like before, yeah, she's zoning
Technically-
harassing, but what if a jungler jumps on your AD
Technically,
carry?
yes, because you get a shield and you get healed now. You don't just get one
Right.
thing. So
I mean,
and
the
you're getting
problem
more damage.
the same problem she's always had still exists. Her mana pool is small, and for how spammy she ends up being, like she just can't keep, like she can only prop somebody up for so long. Once she's topped someone off, because that's what you got to do in bottom lane. You know, once that's the case, she no longer has abilities to do anything. So mana management is a big deal. Fortunately, mana itemization is really easy in support, and it's important to get all that stuff even going through into the end game, because you could easily run out of mana if you don't have, for sure, a Mikhail's and either Talisman or Frost Queen's Claim. I mean, both of those are great for her, so it's really just whichever you prefer.
However you
We
play.
did, incidentally, Adam, we did do better the game I got Frost Queen, or the Shard.
I can imagine.
But I don't know. I don't feel like that item single-handedly changed
Sure.
things for us. It was just
Well, I was
came in.
I was playing Twitch at that point. Had the longer range to start, and I was playing Tristana before, and going against a Graves. It wasn't a fun early matchup. It was Graves Graves Nami. So they have the zone control for the first 3 levels.
The other thing, I think E is really, really bad right now. And part of it is because it's really just a movement speed, like a temporary movement speed steroid with no other effect. You can maybe get teammates with it. And I say maybe because the snuggle zones are so small that I pretty much felt like I was out of range every single time I wanted to use that on a teammate.
Mm-hmm.
The only time I could hit my allies were if they were running at me. And at that point, it's no. I mean, how many times did you have to stop just so I could get in range to cast that with you on you, Adam?
Right.
And I run a lot of move speed on Sona. It's not like I'm.
I would prefer her, and how I thought she was originally going to have it, I would prefer all of her skills be skill shots that you push out to make little snuggle zones around the map. Think of, do you remember light wells from World of Warcraft? You drop them in an area, people could walk up and touch them. Same type of thing, where you could walk up, people could walk through the zone that you shoot it to an area. That way you can stand in a bush, give the
almost
carry.
like-
Didn't they have that on the PvE with her change
no.
before they released it?
No, it's always been like this. They changed her numbers and that type of thing, but I mean,
I think, but I know that gets rid of
Thought
her
it
being
stayed in
an
an
aura
area.
style champion. But if you're shooting off notes from your sitar or whatever the hell she's carrying around, harp, I guess, right?
it has a special name. I don't remember
yeah,
what
it's
it
a
is.
special name, but it's basically like an organ.
Yeah, see, I don't
It's a
know what the hell it is.
harp
I play arcade Sona, so I have a keyboard. But I think it'd be really cool to change her so that she has skill shots instead. It makes her, to me, it makes a much more compelling champion to have to shoot areas that people walk through. It allows you to do more with her. You feel like you are helping the team. But I'm sure once they change aura radiuses or do something to her, that thematic will change.
I think E needs a much bigger radius and W needs a little bit bigger. I'm on the fence about Q. Her early laning does need a bigger radius there, but I think that would be way, way too good in the late game if it got any bigger. Like, I almost can think of a situation where as you level it up, the radius gets smaller, but then that's almost counterintuitive because the player feels penalized for leveling up the
For
ability.
ranking.
Even something like increase it, reduce the bonuses that come from ranking up R and have R increase the radius on that would be a way to adjust it. But the other thing is that visually, it's really hard to tell. Like, as the Sona player, it's really hard to tell when your teammates got the aura benefits. It's really, I would imagine, as the players, it's really difficult to tell if you have aura benefits or not. Like, movement speed is pretty obvious because you're moving faster.
I had no
but the
idea.
shield is so small that, like, you're going to notice the big jump in your HP, but you're not going to notice the little shield that you got. And there's, as far as I could tell, there was no way to actually, like, there's a small adjustment in your auto attack, but
No,
it's
there-
not.
You get like a little white circle around you, or a blue circle.
Oh, you do?
around you,
Okay,
yeah.
so I didn't see that.
But you don't notice it when in the middle of a team fight. It's blue. You don't notice blue. You know, you need to see red, or you need to see red.
It needs to be a vibrant color.
Yeah.
But so, like, it's weird because the changes to Sona that they came up with were the exact same reason that they changed Karma in the past. And that, like, right now, your teammates need to know exactly what Sona does in order for the Sona player to be successful. Sona can't really, Sona really doesn't have that much impact on it. If your team doesn't know to run to you during the certain time that the circle is around her, and yeah, every player in the team gets to see the radius of Sona's auras, so that's nice. But if the player doesn't know to run at her while this aura is active, and I don't even know how easy it is to tell which one she has up for you.
Oh, you can easily tell.
Okay. I mean, I was playing her. It's always a white aura or a white circle for me. But
It's
even
different
so, like, if your
colors, but
if your
it's
teammate doesn't
green, and
know,
pink.
they're not going to know what to do. And even then, it's like, are you really going to think of that in the heat of the battle? There's just so much that's dependent on for Sona to succeed. There's so much that depends on the rest of the team beyond the game of League of Legends itself. And they really tried to avoid that problem with Karma, and that's why they reworked her in the first place. It's so odd that they went back to it for this champion when they recognized it wasn't a good play style in the past.
Right.
Yeah. Well, I'm sure Riot's gonna hear feedback over the next couple weeks and make some adjustments accordingly. It'll be. I bet we don't see a fix for her for a while.
Yeah,
bet
I
they
mean,
give
she's
her some
getting
time.
picked a lot, and I don't know how much I trust her win rate right now, just because it's usually pretty far behind the patch. Like, it incorporates a lot of previous data, but
Well, with Riot, they're gonna give it a while. It's gonna be like the Rengar. People complained and screamed about Rengar.
Yeah,
and
they
it
won't.
could just be we could just are playing her incorrectly. Like I said, I think Don, you didn't bring this up now, but 2v1s, she's probably way better now in 2v1s.
yeah, well, she'll be better in 2v1s. Like, first, because you can just top off your teammate if they take any poke at all to make ganked even less effective. But she'll be better in 2v1s just because her late game does get really good. I felt like it was really doing a lot of things and having a meaningful impact the later the game went on. Part of it's just because the power chord on W reduces damage by the target, and that can be huge against assassins or bursty mages. And then it's always nice having another slow. But, like, the problem right now is that you still have to go through the laning phase to get to late game, and her laning to me is really bad. And Daze felt the same way about her. Daze, like, was hating on Sona hard on Twitter today.
Yeah, I saw that. I haven't played her much, but I've seen her in games, and she seemed to perform well. But I've seen it late game, jumping in, spectating my brother's games. He's been playing them for a while, and he says that he loves the new Sona. I watched a couple scenarios where later in the game, he was chasing down someone who was more fed and higher level than him and taking him out as Sona.
Yeah,
It's
late
like,
game,
wow.
it's a totally different story.
Yeah.
And part of it's because you have the mana and the cooldown reduction to really just use your abilities to their maximum effectiveness. And then you're usually getting a little bit or a lot of AP depending on how you build her. But
Right.
you still got to get there.
You got to get through that laning phase.
Bot lane is so bot lane is so intense for supports during the early game that having a weak early game support is a pretty tough. I mean, that's why. I mean, normally you would do a 2v1 because you picked a really difficult marksman.
Right.
If you really want Sona, you kind of have to think about. To me, it seems like you should be thinking about the early game, or
Lane swap.
jungle's just gotta, like, really keep an eye down there.
Well, we'll see. We'll keep an eye on her over the next couple of weeks, and I'm sure we'll touch back on her when somebody finds a really OP build and tells us how to play her.
I'm sure.
Let's go ahead and we'll go ahead and move on now. Everyone's been seeing Maokai in the top lane quite a bit,
Good guy, Maokai.
and I'm sure a lot of you are like, "Well, why is he so good right now? What's going on?" Or some of those out there that have been complaining about him or screaming about him on Twitter. We are going to talk about it.
health.
I'll,
We're done.
I mean,
Move
yeah,
on.
I can do the intro here because so if you watched any of Super Week, in North America he got picked 7 times and he got banned twice, and this is in stark contrast to the 0 picks the week before. They were on the same patch, weren't they?
They were on the last
Yeah.
patch.
Yeah, they were on the same
412,
patch both weeks, so it's not like anything changed to Maokai, in that 1 week there. And then in Europe, he was only picked 3 times, but that's because he was banned. The team that finished with the best record in Europe, which was Alliance, they banned him in like every single game that they played. They were terrified of this guy. Now maybe that's just Wicked, but it just as well could be the champion itself. But the fact is, the best team in Europe was banning him every single the chance
They
got.
didn't
So
want to
it's-
fight him.
Yeah, they didn't want to deal with that.
Yeah,
champion.
you don't want to deal with them.
So yeah, I mean, and there was a Korean game that kind of opened all of the LCS
see.
players.
Open everyone's eyes.
Yeah, I overheard them talking during the NA run. I know Europe kind of picked him a few times. They actually ran him out of the jungle too, prior to Super Week. But there was one Korean game that made all the top laners go, "Oh, hey, that champion! I should play him now." I just don't know one.
Well, talking about him, he's so great because he has built-in sustain. What is it? Every 3 spells, he can auto attack and
5.
gain life.
It's 5.
Okay, 5.
Wait,
5.
did they might have
But
moved it
it's-
down to 4? I think.
No, I think it's 5,
it's
but
5.
it's his spells.
charges.
And it's any spell cast. It's not just his.
That's
spells.
right.
Anything near him, he draws energy from. Yep.
Yeah.
He gets 5 charges, and then his next basic attack heals for 7% of his maximum health.
So he has
Great
amazing
sustain.
sustain in lane as long as he can auto attack. He has good zone control with E, and he is almost a guaranteed kill or a flash blown if a jungler comes up to gank, because he has the
This was
best.
W.
Yeah, he has the best route to slow combo of any champion in this game right now. When you can W onto somebody and then walk in front of them because they're still rooted and slow them by 50%.
Do a slight displacement / slow.
Yeah.
And in the top lane, the enemy's going to be a little bit healthier. They're going to have higher health, and it does percent health damage, so maximum health, not
Right.
current. So
All of
I mean,
that on top of the ultimate. The great thing about Maokai right now is he's a ticking time bomb. He's the new Mundo, where there's going to become a point in the game, thanks to his ultimate, that he's going to be unkillable.
And we've
so-
seen it happen.
Yeah.
All
We've
you
seen
need, the Rod of
Maokai's
Ages.
tank
Yeah.
everything.
Yeah, no, Rod of Ages, Frozen Heart, done.
And his AP ratios are insane. Like his 50% on his ult, it's 100% if you get both of the procs of Sapling Toss, and then it's 4% for 100 AP, 4% of the target's max health per 100 AP, and so that's another, you're up to 19% after Rod of Ages or something like that. That's why everybody gets that item on him.
When you're looking at top lane champions, big utility, laning presence, and team fight prowess, it comes in with Maokai, because like you said, that ticking time bomb, he doesn't need a lot of defense after you pick up that Rod of Ages, because his ultimate reduces it 20% damage in an area around him, and so now you're making that front line jungle top lane nearly unkillable, and the hyper carries have to mow through that before the enemy mows through your hyper carries at 20% less damage.
I fully expect them to change Vengeful Maelstrom to 10, 15, 20%.
Oh, I'm sure it's going to drop.
instead of
I'm
20
kind of
awareness, yeah.
surprised they left that as it was. Historically, they've not been a fan of leaving ultimates with just flat numbers like that. Because, I mean, basically, you're at the damage is nice and everything, but as far for the top laners purposes, you're at maximum effectiveness once you hit level 6 there. As far as his ult's concerned, the bonus damage is nice after that and everything, but 20% across the board is, always good.
Plus,
Yeah,
the
and
mana,
he's burstier. I noticed he'll come in on you and do his rotation, and boom, you're dead. So what the hell
See-
just happened? That was freaking Maokai.
He's
How did he just burst me?
He's always been really bursty. His AP ratios have always
particularly-
been really good.
particularly early, he's been bursty. That's the thing I
He'd
used
fall
to.
off so hard.
Yeah, that was the thing.
before.
He used to be great early, and you can get a huge snowbally lead and actually pick up a lot of kills just because he had a lot of like baked in damage, but it didn't translate unless you actually built AP onto him.
I would build like Trinity Force Maokai, and he does great in lane the entire time up until Trinity. Even after Trinity Force does great, but if anybody in the game gets 2 items, he just suddenly becomes what he is now, which isn't a bad thing. But when you were playing him previous to the change, you could die because your ultimate didn't follow you around, or you didn't have the mana
And
to
that's
follow
the thing.
it.
That's why I think his like the big thing that pushed him to prominence in top lane is the change to the ult. The max health damage is nice and very good for top lane and everything, but his AP ratio on all of his abilities were always really good. You could have built people are building him the same way he's always been built, but now because his ult follows him and he has that guaranteed damage reduction, like he can rely on that damage reduction and he gets to decide whether or not. I mean, it's like a better Sona aura right now. It's the best aura in the game on a champion ability.
And if you get that
the aura champion doesn't have it.
If you get the frozen heart for the mana and a Rod of Ages, that's gonna stay up forever.
Yeah.
The ult's not going down anytime soon after he's popping it.
Do you think they'll reduce the radius of the ultimate?
No, I don't think they'll
quite
change
a bit. It's pretty big right now.
They may increase
but
the mana leech that it applies. I would say that'd be
the ultimate's going to get touched in one way or another.
Oh, yeah.
I agree that the percentage life.
That's what I think is going to be hit on. The percentage reduction is going to be hit on all ranks instead of the same on all ranks. So
they'll hit the percentage reduction for sure. They might change the amount of magic damage that gets absorbed, but I don't think they're going to change the AoE around it because it's an ultimate ability and it's got as far as an aura goes, it has a long cooldown, 20 seconds there. Like once you turn it off, it's gone for that team fight. So Maokai needs to have the opportunity to make a meaningful impact with that.
And that is one of his iconic abilities too. I doubt they're gonna change up anything too crazy about it.
I mean, and he does kind of hop around the battlefield a lot. He doesn't necessarily get to just stick by the carries to reduce the damage coming at them, because sometimes it's more important to hop on the jungler or whatever target's getting away, and that might push you out of range of them, but it's still the right call. You shouldn't be like, you should have your teammates should have the opportunity to get into that.
I still think the ultimate is just too large, even though it's an ultimate ability, because you can be standing in the jungle in the bush on blue side next to blue, and you can cover pretty much you can cover to the trees to white and around blue for, I mean, maybe a little less than that, but it's just this giant radius where it pretty much covers the entire jungle area that you're fighting in, and that's just too much pressure. When you're using it in lane, it covers up 3/4 of the lane, and that's mid lane. I mean, it's just a giant radius. I just think it's too large.
Well, it's right now. I mean, they want to be able to fit the team in there.
Say that you have another like tanky jungler or bruiser jungler that's going to be going dive buddy sort of thing late in the game. I could see that being sort of a thing if the Maokai does get in there, and then you have 2 dudes that are borderline unkillable walking through your team. But as big as that radius is, if the Maokai is going into the enemy team and like sitting there and being that front line, it's not covering the people in the back line as much unless the Maokai decides to just sit back there anyway.
People, unless it's like an assassin or something.
Right.
If they bring it down to like Karthus's defile radius.
See, I think they just need to bring it down a little lower. But I know they're not going to hit it first. It's just kind of like one of those grapes of mine playing against it. I haven't seen it often, but I haven't really been.
He'll spend some time in band prison until something's done. So.
I don't know.
Really? I mean, you're going to ban him over some other champions?
Oh yeah,
definitely.
Absolutely.
Definitely.
There's not really any champions I'm super scared of right now. Nidalee. I don't want to play against Nidalee. I don't want to play against Maokai. I think those are the only 2 champions that I'm like super
Gragas?
scared
Do you
of.
want to play against Gragas?
Don't care. Like, I'll play against Gragas.
He's right up there with the other 2.
He doesn't bother me at all. I will play against Gragas in lane for days.
Yeah, he's got a mana cost now on his Drunken Rage, so that helps.
Was needed.
He's still good, and he's still really good.
Yeah, he's still really good, but
he doesn't scare me he never scared me playing against him, but that's probably because I never ran into some amazing
good
Gragas. Yeah. Kassadin, really good Kassadin scare me, but I think I will leave Kassadin. He's not in ban prison. I think Nidalee is really the only one that I really ban prison.
Kassadin's definitely in ban prison right now based on the numbers.
If you looked at the LCS,
I don't let him out.
Kassadin got taken out of the prison a number of times and didn't even get picked.
Really?
How Gragas made it to last pick on some teams,
Yeah, Gragas isn't really in ban, but Kassadin, Braum, and Yasuo are the only champions really in ban prison. Morgana's working her way up there.
What's weird is after Braum's nerf, I'm still seeing him in there.
Thresh got nerfed and nerfed and nerfed for I don't know how many patches, and he stayed,
Well,
he stayed in ban prison until Braum showed up. It's like it's okay. I mean, some champions are just good. You can nerf them all you want, but like sometimes champions are just good. Like Thresh is
They're annoying to play against.
Thresh is at a 45% win rate at this point, but he's at a 30% pick rate. He's still a good champion. It doesn't really matter whether or not people are successful with him.
I just want Braum to come out. I love that champion.
And some champions are just better in the hands of professionals than they are in the hands of other players, as you can see with Thresh. Thresh is just amazing in competitive play.
Yeah, he's disgusting.
Because of
I hate playing against Thresh too.
And the Zillion as well. I'm really surprised at how poorly the Zillions did this weekend, but I think the only people that I watched play Zillion were Hotshot, and that was a ragtag CLG team that didn't know how to take, they had Nian up 4-0 and couldn't push that into any turrets or anything, so.
Zillion has so much ridiculous hidden power in his kit.
I still think Zillion's super overpowered right now, and with the great
Where do you
team
think he's best played, out of the mid where we've been seeing him in the European LCS?
Absolutely.
Okay. Because he's a bully in the lane, and
it's not even that like he
can react
your
anywhere.
Team
Roam
gets a huge advantage just by having him there, just with all the free experience.
I don't think I've ever seen somebody so passionate against a champion they just dislike both to play against and to play as Dom and Zilly.
Oh God, I hate Zilly. Like he's not fun to play.
Oh, is he your nemesis there, Dom?
I don't even care when I play against him. It's like okay, because if I play against him, I'm playing against support Zillion. So, okay, I'm against Zillion, and I just need to run away from my carry while I have bombs on me, and that's how you deal with... I mean, you're going to get hit by them. If you're in range, you're going to get hit by them. There's no misclicking that or anything. Like, if he's trying to bomb spam, he's going to run out of mana really, really quickly. And then, like, that's that. And then level 6, okay, he brings somebody back to life. I mean, it's just... But that passive... bonus experience to everybody on the map is what really bothers me, just like TF's old passive did, and Janna's old passive, although I was usually the Janna player, so it didn't bother me as much.
Just to play with Zillion properly, you have to have a team that understands they need to push that early advantage into a 30-minute win, because you can use his ultimate during dragon fights to secure dragons, then move into towers, because you should come out of that fight significantly ahead, if not an ace, because of that ultimate, and that's how you properly play Zillion. He will single-handedly win a game if the team understands how to play with him, and that's using his ultimate properly. So it's a time.
I mean, and the later the game goes on, the worse he gets, really, because I mean his ultimate will always be good, but it's a case where like by the end of the game he only has 2 spells that are actually meaningful for your team.
A slow and well, he's got 3 spells. He's got the slow. He's got the utility. He just becomes a worse utility mid because his bombs don't do anything.
Yeah, he's only got 1 damage spell, which is really not ideal in the mid lane. But I was actually only talking about his ult in the slow because the bomb, like, you kind of have to blow the CDR side of things if you want to get the bombs twice. So you got to rotate your spells very carefully if you want to maximize it, and then you're just sort of stuck in cooldown hell.
There is counterplay to him with his ult. Obviously, if you don't kill the person with the ult, it ticks down, boom, they're dead, instead of restoring with all their life.
Forever.
It does, but there's counterplay in what you hold, and if you can use deceit and trickery to try to sneak it out. Like, burst on Zillion as much as you can to get him to panic ult himself, and then CC the 80 carry that comes in to save him, and then pull him down. Things like that. So, but it's a pain in the balls, and a good Zillion can wise up to it if you hold it just long enough, So it's tough, but there is counterplay to it, and we saw it a couple times in the LCS.
Well, anyone if TSM played him, TSM played like absolute trash this weekend, and then CLG.
Yeah. CLG doesn't count.
He's hard
Anything
to play.
CLG just doesn't count at this point. I mean, that was a solo queue group that got put together. I mean, realistically, we would have been as effective as that CLG team going into it.
I don't know
about
that. Neon putting a clinic on about
But
why
you know
he wasn't
like
CLG.
that team just didn't like. It's a group of guys who have played together for a week or something like that, less than
But
that.
they didn't
And
play.
It was like 3 days.
They didn't play any games. They played one ranked 5 game before they played their first game in the LCS.
played together at most for a week. Then so yeah, they didn't play at all.
Hotshot said that he didn't even know that Nien was still playing the game when he asked him to play. So
the dream.
yeah,
the
4-0 the
dream.
dream. What a tragedy.
I want to back up for a second, because we didn't talk about who you should pick into Maokai if you're going into top lane.
No one banned him, so you never have to get against him. Done. Question's over.
Well, I don't think it's really the top laning against him. It's annoying now, but it's not really the main threat. Like we said, the main threat is that ultimate. Once he hits that Mundo level, it becomes unkillable.
Okay, so then what are you supposed to do to sort of just deal with that situation?
You bring utility to fight utility.
Well, later in the game, yeah. Early game, I can still get a first blood on him with Pantheon played right, or zone him out of XP and creeps and try to keep him behind a little bit.
You won't get that for long. His armor is high.
Exactly.
They might tone down his base stats, to be honest.
If you play smart, then
it doesn't matter though. See, that's the thing. Eventually, you're gonna push the turret, and I'm gonna stay alive. I mean, yeah, you can kill. I'm not saying me, but I'm Maokai for the sake of this conversation. Yeah, you can kill me. I'm not gonna say like he's impossible to be killed by a Pantheon or anybody, but he's just one of those characters where he's like Gragas. He can still kind of CS from the back line. He can CS pretty well under turret. He has.
And if his jungler shows up once, he's got you.
That's pretty much all it is. Like to pick into him, you need to, you know what? You go in for that. You go on Nidalee. You go in that all in level 2 early, and then zone him out. Nidalee will zone way harder than anybody else will, in my opinion.
Well, the other thing with Maokai that's an issue is that if you do get him low and you do push him to turret, and you're using any abilities at all to farm, or he has a decent enough mana pool, he's gonna sit at his turret and sustain all the way back to full.
Yeah, you can't. Poke
no problem. I mean, it's one of those things that you either kind of have to kill him or you're paying for not killing him.
That's why you just go in the top lane against him, and you pick somebody like Irelia, where her Heat and Styles true damage outweighs the damage that he is soaking, or the life he's getting back from his ultimate. Plus,
she scales great late too.
Yeah, and she scales fantastically late. So either you bring really high damage that is true damage, somebody like that, or you bring utility to fight utility. So you put Gragas in there so you can blow him away with an ultimate, or you can displace somebody and kill them before he can make it back in. The Sandra can do decently well against him in top lane as well, because she can farm him push him to the turret, or she can farm against him. You don't really see her all that often, but I'm kind of a big proponent of bringing her back at this point.
I don't do too bad against him as Trundle. If I'm just playing the boring, I'm just going to sustain let's farm, and
Nasus will do the same thing. It'll just be a boring farm lane where you both
top lane
up.
Warwick, you just
his laning is
the same bullshit.
He's got the he's got the root him in place button, but other than that, like his cooldowns are really long on his abilities. So
he's not killing anybody on his own.
Pick an end game champion. He's not going to beat you on his own.
We saw Nien play into him. I don't know if you guys saw that team fight. I think it was against Dignitas, picked Maokai, and they both walked away with like 100 life or something after a giant trade.
I did watch that, yeah.
And Nien was waiting for cooldowns to come back up, thinking he was going to kill him, but Maokai healed off of the 5 spell because Nien casted 2, and so he got the 5 stacks on his ultimate. It was like one of those crazy fights where it just happened to work out in both people's favor. Nien they're both walking away like, we're not going to kill each other.
As a Renekton player, how do you think Renekton fares against Maokai?
I'm not going to pick Renekton anymore. I think there's just too many good champions now, too many good utility champions to pick Renekton. He's not going to kill him. That's the problem. Renekton's going to zone him, and then what happens?
Maokai has a lot of armor. I mean, his base armor is already pretty high.
It's huge.
He's in
you're hitting wood.
He's in that top 10 group, but then he has some of the best.
Chop it down.
I mean, Maokai and Poppy have the highest base armor in the game.
Right.
And then Rammus. So like that's just to give people perspective on that. Like Maokai is above Rammus as far as base armor goes. The armor champion.
Millennium and Alliance, Rammus top. Let's go into that.
Renekton could definitely win that fight. Like a really good Renekton with a slice and dice will drop that armor by 50% and potentially kill him at level 6. But he has to hit level 6 before him, and he has to not push the lane.
And he has to have Ignite.
I mean, you have to hit level 6 before him, and you have to make sure he doesn't hit level 6 at that same time, because otherwise, hey, now you're not dealing damage to him anymore.
And then you have to hope that you can blow his teleport, so you have your teleport up to go out to a dragon fight. That's really how top lane is at this point. You need to make the other person blow teleport so you can make it to dragon fight, and they can't.
And you have to make sure only 4 spells got used, because otherwise he's gonna heal up all of it.
So if you guys are wondering how to play top lane right now, in the current meta, it's make the other person use teleport. That's all it is. Make them use teleport before the 10-minute mark when you're going for dragons. Like within that window, that 4-minute window of that dragon at 10 minutes, you gotta make them use teleport. So
That's even later in the game. Baron fights. You can bait a Baron fight just to make the enemy top laner use teleport and then get the hell out of there.
Walk away.
And now you have the advantage.
it's so funny how top lane used to be all these kill lanes, but we were looking to Olaf and stuff, and now it's who can blow whose teleport. And who will have the advantage?
Pretty much.
So that is.
But don't
that's
stick.
top lane.
But don't stick around. You know what? Don't stick around too long, because you don't want to go back and then teleport to your turret. Blah blah. If you got to back before the jungler comes out and kills you. So
Timely Shadow is in the chat right now saying.
Remember, this is. What's that?
I was going to say, Timely Shadow, sorry, in the chat, he's like, I enjoy Olaf. I use him against champs that want to trade early. I just want to look over at Chira, because Chira, I know, he's got a giant smile on his face. Like,
that's the whole point of you play Olaf to really tilt people early, and then you fuck them up, and they're like, I don't want to go back to lane, and then you cry.
I ate a reckless swing for half my life.
The only thing is you got to end the game really early, because he's not scaling well late.
Chira's response to every matchup is play Olaf.
He wins so many matchups early. It's hilarious.
Tonight you're playing Olaf, Sean.
Chira always wants to play Olaf.
Love Olaf.
No, you're not.
I haven't played Olaf in a while.
All right, so pretty much,
you should jump.
pretty much everyone, all of us are unanimous. We want to shout from the treetops, ban Maokai, right?
No, because Dom doesn't want to. Dom's like, why is he in banned prison? You can deal with him, and then this whole entire conversation.
No, I'm not. I don't. I'm saying he's not in banned prison right now based on the numbers available to us.
But you're saying it should be.
As a top laner, I don't like playing against him. As anyone else, I don't like when he gets the late game.
You know, he doesn't bother me that much compared to some other champions, but I hate guys like Rengar who will jump on me, or more importantly, my carry, eliminate him from the team fight, and now I have, I'm at a loss on to what to do. Those are the champions that I don't like. Lee Sin is the type of champion that I don't want to see in games.
I guess it depends on your comp, too. If it's a protect the cog comp that they have, you don't want to have Maokai.
Cogma, Tristana, Jinx.
Yeah.
Let's bring the hyper carries in this game that can mow people down.
Which is what's popular now, so ban Maokai because he makes them so much better.
I don't like top lane anymore because we're back to where we were in early spring split, where it was tanky, crappy, boring top lane champions that couldn't kill each other. And then we got to a point where Olaf started to get good, and then a week later they changed everything.
Hey, Jack was good, and
they did just buff Olaf, so
yeah.
Look, I'm bringing Fiora, and I'm owning every Maokai I see.
I don't know how, because he's not an auto-attack based champion, but good luck!
I'm just not going to use any spells, so he's going to have to get his own damn charges.
Okay. I mean, I'm down with that.
Wear through his mana, and then strike.
Dag nabbit.
Okay, we are at just a few minutes left. Well, we got about 10 minutes
13.
left in this podcast, 13 minutes left in this podcast.
You can hit a few listeners.
You know what? Yeah, I was gonna say I really don't like doing that, but we can do it. Let's do it. Well, we can do a couple listener questions. I don't like just spending the last 10 minutes doing listener questions because I feel like we just spent the entire episode talking about stuff, and now here, let's fill some time.
Okay. Then, is there anything else in the reverse?
Well, we
pipe
never
patch
talked
that
exhaust.
Oh, exhaust.
I haven't noticed the nerf too much with it. It still seems effective. I still pick it into assassins against me mid, and it still negates them. I haven't used it offensively, though, because I just use it the old way. So, I don't know. Have you been using it offensively with the new resistance reduction?
Dom just walked away. I was hoping that he was able to talk about it because I don't play support, and I played 2 games this entire week because of all the
reasons.
So you haven't messed with it.
Reasons.
How about you, Sean? Have you messed with it?
I have not.
Okay.
Well, great
always in top
conversation,
lane
guys.
jungle anyway.
I picked it into a...
Hey, let it
talk
be
from
said.
mid
We
sim.
didn't expect Dom to just get up and walk away.
You know what? I played on a couple Leona games as well, and I had exhaust, and it did save, just like the old way. It saved the life of whoever I was using it to protect.
Sure.
It's still awesome. It's still 40%, 50%, doesn't matter. It's ruining their day when they want to throw that burst out
Well,
real
now
quick.
you can actually kill somebody in a team fight. If they get exhausted, there's a reason to target them now in a team fight. But
Yeah, it makes them more of a target a little bit, I think.
it's
because of the resistances. So
yeah. It makes exhaust. Honestly, it makes exhaust better early and mid game, where the exhaust really shined in the late, mid, and late game, where it would completely nullify an assassin. Now it's 40%. It gives that assassin that little bit extra window to be able to play. We saw Zed being played in like 412 recently, and that
still
was
makes
50%. So
it's still enough to make them not one rotation you.
But it also is just enough for the assassins to start coming back in here, because that 10% gives you that little extra damage that you could have missed out on before. But going at,
part of that was
bot,
part of that was because people had started going towards Ignite in bottom lane again, and so you weren't necessarily having an exhaust, so you could kind of roll the dice to see what was going to happen there, because it's not like. I mean, there are some people who, even if Exhaust is the better overall summoner for the team, they will still go with whatever they want for whatever area of the game that they're focusing on. I mean, I was a guy who always wanted to run Exhaust anyway, even back when the meta was Barrier Ignite. I've always liked that summoner. I've always liked having it on the team.
Same.
I ran Ignite because that's what I needed to do, but I wanted to have exhaust.
Well, with the Tristanas and the Kog'Maws running around, you get to late game, you want somebody with exhaust. So when you decide to pull the trigger, you got a way to at least keep him from destroying you at the same time.
You know what? What I like about this, it gives you just the choice of what you want to do. Do you want to kill lane and bot, or do you want to put people down in dragon fights? Because if you're going against a Mundo, you have to you know what's great about picking like a Mundo now? You know the bottom lane has to run Ignite, so you no longer have the exhaust, so you can actually put a assassin on your team in mid. You can run that Fizz or that Zed, because somebody somewhere has to take an Ignite to deal with that Mundo.
Just get Morellonomicon and
doesn't work as well as you think it would, pal.
Take MF and or Tristana or
take Tristana, which you're gonna have anyway, or they're gonna have.
Fucking Nian would like to talk to you about that. He was doing dude. I'm on the Nian train again. I never thought he was bad in the first place. So this weekend he came in full steam ahead. Woo woo. All right, so that I guess the exhaust. Just the change. The change is nice enough that you have a choice now, right? I think that's the general consensus. Barrier. I think that's the last summoner spell we can talk about. Have we seen Barrier being run? Mid lane, I guess, is going to pick up. I've seen some people pick up Barrier.
I still prefer heal. That move speed, like we said before, it's just too good. Barrier, you still have to time right. They can bait it out of you and then say, "Oh, okay, hold on, there's Barrier. Wait. All right,
not doing damage.
Now we go. Yeah." Whereas heal's just boom. Life's back, it's permanent, and I'm running away or I'm running at you. So I prefer it. You know, Barrier has its place. It does absorb more than heal heals. So if you use it at the right time,
and you can use it more
Zed
frequently.
ults you, for example, and you didn't take exhaust because you're retarded. Zed ults you, you use Barrier, you have time to use it, and it'll soak up most of the ult.
You get to use it more frequently is the other thing.
Yeah, it has a much better cooldown.
Wow.
That's actually
and
why
heal
I'm
you can
surprised
save
we
a
don't see.
teammate.
Yeah,
Barrier you can't.
heal makes sense in bottom lane. I'm surprised we don't see more Barrier in mid lane, just because it absorbs more damage, and that's the bursty lane, and you get to use it more frequently.
I just think it's the move speed increase.
Yeah, no, it is the move speed increase that puts heal over the top, but
Oh yeah, if it didn't have that, I'd go Barrier all the way. So
Well, I think that's all I got for the podcast. I do listener questions, but with 7 minutes in the left, I don't want to do them for this episode, and I think we'll just call it an early show for the night.
sounds
Don't
good to
forget
me.
to play this song again, Adam.
Oh yeah, people want to hear the song, right?
Oh yeah.
Well, if you want
What
to tune
song?
in on Wednesday, I have a ton of listener questions in the doc. Well, not a ton in the document. I have a number in the document, but I have a ton more in the mailbox that need to get added. So we're gonna.
oh,
go
good.
through a lot of
I'm
them.
so glad to hear this. Makes me really, really happy.
Do you want me to forward them one at a time to you every time I get them? Will you remember to put them in if I do that? I just figure
I usually wait until I have like 5 or 6, but yeah, I do.
Okay.
I tend to do them as I get them rather than.
I figured if I just waited and sent you big chunks of them every 2
Oh
weeks.
no,
it'd
I
be
hate
better.
that. I hate that.
Dom, let me say I appreciate you for doing that. Doing the listener questions, putting them in the document, making them easy for us.
It's so much easier when
It's
you
work
give them
I'm
to
so
me
glad
like
I
a
don't
few at a
have.
time. Because
All right.
if you give it to me a few at a time, I can do it at the office. If you give me 20, 25 all at once, like that takes up a big chunk of my time,
All
and so
right,
I can't.
fine. I will go
can't do
through
it
and
at
do
the
them
office.
whiny cry baby. Where? Where? Need my bottle. But he bought it.
If whining is what it took to get you to, make my life easier, then everything came up dominant.
Well, speaking of
squeaky
documents,
wheel
I need
gets
you to
the
take a
grease,
look
right?
at the Battle Arena document, because people need to go and check out Battle Arena if you're not playing in it.
So there's a Battle Arena document?
Yes, and it looks like shit.
Get on it, Dom.
Where might I find this? Where might-
I will
What do we
send it to
pay
you.
you for, damn it?
All right, guys. So I'm going to shout this out real quick as it gets darker in the room as we finish out this podcast. I'm just killing time for an hour. Trinity Force Podcast, Battle Arena, and stream schedule can be found on trinityforcepodcast.com. Battle Arena is we have a bronze boot camp. It is now casted by Haberdashing and it didn't change. Haberdashing and Seagrove are doing the bronze Battle Arena. If you guys don't know who those guys are, go check them out. That starts Saturday at noon until 3 p.m. Eastern Daylight Time, just before the LCS starts. But we don't have the LCS for a little while. So in the bronze boot camp, of course, that is if you are bronze rating. Some people have wrote in and said, like, I am silver 5. I know I'm not bronze. I'm going to talk to the guys about that and see if it'll extend or what we're going to do about that. And we're going to answer that. There's a couple questions coming like that. We're going to answer those later. But for now, bronze only. If you're bronze, go play in bronze boot camp. You're going to learn a ton. Speaking of learning a ton, Dr. Luke and Calla are doing the EU West Battle Arena. That is Tuesdays at 7 p.m. CEST. And actually, I want to say it's Doctor is going through and writing notes. He's going to every episode, rewatching it, writing these really long, intricate notes about what you should have done based on what is seen.
Really? Nice.
And if you're playing on EU West, like, you want that. Because that's better than anything else doing. Those guys are doing it better than NA.
That is really helpful. Early in the podcast, when I first joined, I had Sotir watch one of my Jungle Pantheon games before Jungle Pantheon became a thing. And I had him take notes, and he left me this document, and it was very helpful. It was really good. And you know what?
Adam, I've done
I'm
that
going
for
to
your
take
5
claim
team.
that Sotir and I is what kicked off the Pantheon Jungle Apocalypse that happened. Okay. So,
well, and guys,
we'll
I'm ready to
take
check out Normal
blame.
Battle Arena every Tuesday at 7 p.m. Eastern Daylight Time. Badger and Friends cast that. Badgers. And then, of course, Oceanic Battle Arena. It is bronze to gold Thursdays at 7 p.m. AWST. So, guys, so check out Battle Arena. That is it for this week on episode number 183. I'm cutting all of you off.
Wait a minute. Journey to 30. Isn't that Wednesday before our podcast?
Yeah, I'm on it this week. Top lane. We're talking top
Nice.
lane before the podcast.
All right.
I forgot.
So
Thanks for
come
reminding me.
early, and you'll be able to watch that as well.
Yeah, guys, if you're brand new to this game, like brand new, or
not, it's still
you feel like you don't know anything about the game, check out Journey to 30. Freaking fantastic. Asturition and Snagglewolf are taking care of that. It is a YouTube VOD only. I'm not looking to push that into a podcast anytime soon, but if they continue to make it, they continue to keep doing a new job.
You should check it out just because Snagglewolf's funny as hell, too.
He is. You need to start one of those with his little Snagglemania thing. I don't think you started anything yet.
I don't do it. That's not me. I do nothing with that. I just told them, here's the channel info, here is the graphic, go for it. So
right.
if
Follow
you
me on
are
Twitter,
if you missed King to Claude, stick around. That is gonna play right now. These guys aren't gonna say anything while I play it, and yeah, it's 30 seconds. So here we go. Thank you, Area Defect, and everybody. We'll see you all next week.
Thank you. Bye.
As he breaks the puneta, Adam's getting fed up. He's shouting, God damn it, Declawed. But his puns all get better, the women get wetter, and all he can do is applaud King Declawed.